Here's how to create a right angle head in an X. Toggle to the machine tool view in the manufacturing module. Go ahead and say create tool. Here under mill planer, you'll see that there is an option for a head that looks similar to a 90-degree head. Go ahead and select that and say OK. This dialog box here will open up. Now there's a nice little diagram that slightly explains what's going on. You have 6 variables here that you need to fill out for NX to understand what you want this head to be. An X, Y, Z, I, J, and K value. The X value and the Y value are going to be the distance from the face of the collet to the center line of the spindle. Now, you will use the X or the Y, not both, for a 90-degree head. It's going to be dependent on which direction you want the head to point. In this instance, we're going to go ahead and try to set this up as a right angle head that is pointing in the X positive direction. My head has a 1/2 inch distance from the face of the collet to the center line of the spindle. So I'm going to put 1/2 inch here. I'm then going to leave the Y at 0. There is not going to be any shift in the Y axis. The Z is going to be the gauge length of the head. So for instance, this is going to be from the spindle face to the center line of the collet assembly on the right angle head. In my instance, my tool is 9.875 inches of a gauge length in that direction. This number will always be negative. Since we're pointing X positive, this is going to be a positive value. If we were pointing X negative, this would be a negative value. But since we're pointing X positive, this is going to be positive. Now, the IJ and K value is the direction from the spindle axis. This is going to be what determines the direction that your head is pointing. I is with the X axis, J is with the Y axis, K is with the Z axis. In this instance, we said we want to point X positive. That being said, this is going to be a -1. These are polar coordinates. It's always going to be a 1 or a 0. In this instance, negative will point X positive, whereas a +1 would make the head point X negative. Since this is an X positive head, we're going to put this at -1. You only, for a 90-degree head, want a 1 value in one of these 3 directions. So, since this is X positive and we have our -1 here, our J value is going to be 0, and our K value is also going to be 0. You now have a right angle head pointing in the X plus direction configured. So you can go ahead and say OK. When you say OK, it's going to throw it into this unused folder inside of your tool library. That is OK. That is exactly where it will reside. I have a drill already created, so I want this drill to be inside of the head. To do that, I simply drag it and place it on the head, and it will go inside as a subset. Now I have a 059 drill that is inside of my X plus right angle head.